Hey, great, we're live. Wonderful. Thank you so much for tuning in to Getting Into Business. I am Clara Piedalue, business broker with Larkspur Business Brokers, and you're watching Getting Into Business. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks for being here. I'm really excited. We have a very special guest today, an amazing restaurateur, local, well, to Lethbridge. I think a lot of you will know him. I'm really happy to introduce Dylan Toth-Levine. Thank you, Dylan, for being here.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. I know we need an extra coffee this morning. I've had a crazy morning already.
Coffee helps.
Coffee helps always. Well, thanks for joining us. We're really excited to talk about Dylan's Piggyback Poutineery. I guess what you got going on at Dylan's Piggyback this afternoon for lunch?
Well, we just launched a new menu for this week, so come check it out. We got a really nice apple bacon chicken sandwich. So we made an apple bacon relish for it, so come check that out. It's awesome.
That sounds amazing. That's really cool. How did you, that's a really unique menu item. I can't say I've ever seen anything like that before in Lethbridge. Where did you kind of get the creativity for that one?
Sometimes we just look around to see what we have, and so other times we just talk amongst ourselves. We have two really great chefs that work with us as well, and so we just have a conversation, and all of a sudden something pops up and we're like, yeah, we're going to do that.
Yes, excellent. Cool. Well, for those of you who don't know, Piggyback Poutineery has moved. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your new location?
Yeah, so we're on 5th Street now, just by King of Trade. It's a much better location. Our previous location, we only had 400 square feet and 8 seats. We currently merged our two businesses, Dylan Burgers and Deli, and Piggyback Poutineery. Merged those two together, and now we have about 35 seats. So, and we serve alcohol as well.
Oh, good. So you can drop in and have a beer with your poutine.
Absolutely, an Alberta craft beer with your poutine.
Oh, nice. It's an Alberta craft beer. Excellent. So you hand-selected the beers that you were going to include on your menu?
Absolutely. It was a hard process testing all those beers.
That was a bad day.
hard days of beer reps coming and trying beer. It's rough.
Yeah. So, hey, for what's going on today with the apple bacon burger, what kind of a beer would be a good pairing with that?
We would pair that with an amber lager.
Ooh, an amber lager. That sounds delicious. I know where I'm going to be for lunch today. That sounds really good. So when did you move? How long have you been open in this location for?
So we've been open in this location for about 4 months. We were in our previous location for 5 years, and we just found it a little bit too small. So once our lease was up, we decided to combine the two so we can have the big dining room versus the tiny dining room and a tiny kitchen.
Yeah, and then also too, now your menu has expanded.
Yeah, we've done a good job. We're incorporating the two menus together, so we're still doing the whole poutine list, and we're rotating about 6 burgers at a time. So about every other week, you'll see a rotation of burgers.
Sure. Okay, cool. Hey, well, I would love to learn a little bit more about Piggyback Poutineery. It's a favorite. It was a favorite spot. It still is a favorite spot. And you were really the pioneer to bring the poutineery concept to Lethbridge. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started?
Well, I was looking for either buy a business or start a business, so when the opportunity came up on 6th Street for that location, I decided, well, we're going to figure it out, and poutineery is so popular in Montreal, and I spend some time of every year in Montreal. I thought it would be a good opportunity out here in Lethbridge for us to do that. It was received extremely well. We were very, very busy, continued to be, and yeah, it was just a unique idea for Lethbridge. People didn't really know those kind of restaurants existed, so.
Yeah, that's true. I would agree. It was very unique for Lethbridge. Were you at all, did you have any, trepidation? Were you nervous, thinking, oh, man, what if, Lethbridge, rejects the concept?
No, I was pretty confident, but you always have to think about the fact that it might not work.
Yeah.
And part of it was, we were doing all the painting and renovations, all the things we were doing, and the last thing I did 4 days out was write the menu. I did everything else first, all the hard stuff in place that actually need to run a business, and the most important but the least important at that point in time was doing the menu. You already know yourself poutine, you know that's what it's going to be. Now it's just to sit down and work it out, but all the other small details you have to do to start a business take a lot of time.
Yeah, sure. Well, hey, let's get into those details. I would really like to know, your experience, and hopefully this will provide, because a lot of our viewers are thinking about starting their own businesses, and we'd really like to. We try to obviously inspire them and maybe give them some tips and some steps that need to be taken to help them along the journey. What were some of the things that you had to really get in place even before you had thought of the menu?
Figuring out what you're going to do, how you're going to do it. You have to turn these projects into not just a passion for what you're going to sell, but an actual plan on what you're going to do. So arranging distributors, doing the renovations, making sure utilities, all those kinds are in place, setting up bank accounts, debit, all those kinds of things, and being prepared for the business. And that's the biggest part for a lot of people. I see that they have a very great, a passionate idea that they would like to do, and then they start doing it, but they don't know the back stuff that has to be done. That took me at least 3 weeks of organizing the actual business by the time I had corporate documents and ready to open the door. Hence why the menu is last, because you can't open the door with all those other things. And the menu is the easiest thing to write if you are into what you're doing, which I am. So that was the easiest part of everything, was the menu. Everything else was hard.
Yeah, everything else was hard. Was it
very
hard, very challenging? I bet. What were some of the obstacles? Like, what was there any like, is there any little tidbit of a story like that you like encountered an obstacle, but like you were able to overcome it with some creative thinking?
The whole doing the corporation paperwork, though it was somewhat straightforward, it was completely unknown to us. So that took quite a bit of time going back and forth and getting everything in order. I thought that was just a sends of papers and it was all going to be good. It wasn't like that.
No, it's
not
true.
at all. And so things like health inspections, easy, but they have a certain thing they want to see. I've experienced in the industry from a long time ago, so it was pretty easy for me to meet those things without them having to actually come and tell me. But the hardest part is coming up with a brand, trademarking your brand, getting all your corporate documents, making sure you get your GST number, and trying to figure out what you're going to do for payroll, because you want to make money, as do the employees that you're hiring.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know, like, when you're so basically, like, if you're gonna open a restaurant, run a restaurant, so many people, like you said, they're so passionate for the product, for their menu. Like that's called like the front end of the business, or the front of house, like all of everything that goes out to the customer. That's one area of business, and then the other challenging part about running a restaurant is really the back end and managing costs, labor, ensuring that your corporation is set up correctly, understanding your lease rates. What were some of your experiences like with managing like the three? Well, first let's talk about what are the three major expenses or three major costs to owning a restaurant.
Obviously, payroll is probably the highest.
Yeah,
so
payroll's the
everybody gets
highest.
paid. Everybody likes to get paid. Make sure that happens. The cost of food and the rent/utilities.
And the rent/utilities.
I think people really understand about how much utilities would cost for a restaurant.
Yeah, it's really important that you understand too that there's a difference between like just your lease rate and then understanding what your whole occupancy cost is. Did you want to maybe talk a little bit about that?
Just, I'm trying to think about what I want to say here. Just, between insurance and just the utilities, and there's all kinds of things that pop up. Something breaks, and all of a sudden you're spending $500 or $1,000 to fix something. So that plays a big part of it. You have to have some money in reserves to deal with broken equipment. And, if the equipment's broken, you can't use it to sell anything. Therefore, it's costing you even more money than the repair itself.
Yes, so true, so true. So I know like a lot of the times you might put, okay, great, you got a really great lease rate, perfect, and then you put that into your budget, but then like you mentioned, there's some other costs you need to obviously include in your occupancy costs. So utilities, if you have a triple net lease, what's going to be your percentage of all of the occupancy costs, as well as like insurance and utilities, like that all are factors to what it costs just to keep the doors open.
Absolutely. And one of the things I've seen with new restaurants popping up is they seem to, like I said before, have the passion, and they spend all of their money doing renovations and those kinds of things. And you have to be prepared to lose your butt for at least a year, if not two. There's just a thing that you have to have money in the bank, and it seems to me that they fail quickly because they spend all the money up front and then they can't afford to not be busy.
So the being undercapitalized and perhaps allocating funds to places that I guess to different places that maybe aren't a necessity, whereas having money in the bank when you have a restaurant is a necessity.
Kind of is. If
Kinda
you
is.
came to both my locations, you'll see that how I did it, and I did it very inexpensively, and we've been upgrading over as the years go by. We buy new things, but the startup was definitely on a low cost because you have to have money left over at the end, because if you're not busy, you still have to pay your staff and yourself.
Yes, so those are like some really tough decisions that you need to make as a business owner, and like decision making is a really important I guess a factor to be a successful in business. You have to be able to make decisions quickly, and you also have to be able to make the right decisions as to where your money's going to go. So for people that really want to create that beautiful space, like yes, we want you to have, that's so important to have an warm and inviting atmosphere for people to come into your restaurant. But I think, Dylan, you made a really great point where it's like, do it on a shoestring budget and then just start to add to the space, as your business is growing.
Absolutely. Paint and new tabletops maybe. There's all kinds of things that aren't expensive. We don't have to go into huge lighting or anything like that. You just work with what you have. And if it's not a restaurant before, of course, that's very costly in the hundreds of thousands of dollars to convert it to a restaurant. If you're buying a restaurant or leasing a place that's already been a restaurant, then you're doing cosmetics, and then be very careful in what you spend. It doesn't have to be super fancy or expensive to get people in there and make them feel comfortable. Like our tables and chairs and church benches and all those things, they don't match.
They don't match, but that's kind of
but
part of the
charm. But it feels
charm.
good in there.
It does feel really good.
Beat up wood floor, exposed brick wall, but all those things are just, we could have spent $50,000 in the dining room doing a whole bunch of things, building booths, doing all that. It's just not necessary.
Good. So just to keep that in mind, I know so many business owners are so creative and like they want to put all their energy into the creativity, but it's really important to obviously keep your eye on the dollars as well. Let's switch topics into something that's a little bit more fun about what everybody loves, is really talking about picking, like branding, marketing, picking your name. How did you come up with Piggyback Poutineery? It's such an awesome name.
A lot of conversations. A lot of conversations on the naming.
Over some beers, perhaps?
Over some beers, yes. I had a really talented artist that I use in Vancouver that does a lot of did the branding for us. And so a lot of back and forth with him and what he thought, and he put together a whole bunch of options, and that one just looked the best. And then after that, we were busy trying to decide what colors it was going to be.
Yeah, so colors. I mean, I've taken some color theory. I'm from did you do any color theory, or did you how did you discuss color and make the final decision to go with the white, black, and orange?
We were just going through looking at, there was reds, and clearly we weren't going to do pink, pink and pig. We can move on from that. Blues didn't work, so it kind of came down to like reds and yellows, and then the orange. And as far as the orange went, then we just chose a really bright orange, which actually is a hot rod color from the 60s in Chev, so it's called Hugger Orange.
Nice, Hugger Orange, cool. I like that it's got like a hot rod Chevy kind of story behind it, because that's like, it definitely makes you think of burger shacks of days gone by.
Yeah. Well, our truck is big and orange. It's pretty recognizable.
Can't miss it. Absolutely. So what year, when you started, you didn't have the food truck right away?
No, I bought that. We opened in April. I bought it in August, and we started running it the next year. We needed extensive repairs and a paint job and all kinds of things.
Oh, so you purchased it, then took the winter to do the renovation on the food truck.
Yeah, exactly.
And then have it ready for the spring. So that's a really great example of like postponing or delaying, a growth opportunity until you're able to have the capital to do it. Yeah,
and we scratched together some money to get it bought, and then spent more than I paid for it back again, just getting it ready to go.
Nice, cool.
It was in tough shape, and you just go and take a look and roll with it. Either you can or can't make it happen. And if you buy it and you can't use it for 2 years and you're happy with the purchase price, then let it sit till you're ready.
And until you're ready, because you got a really great deal on it.
Back to the beginning, don't burn up all your money.
Yes, absolutely. That's really like, I guess the tale of caution for all restaurant owners is to really be really shrewd with your decision, with your money making purchase, with your money purchases. Obviously, your purchases. Yeah,
absolutely.
That is really the key, the make it or break it. I think for restaurant owners is being undercapitalized or mismanaging of funds or allocating funds into areas that are not necessarily a critical area for that generate money. What kind, like before you spend, do you have any like decision making process that you have, like that before you spend money you ask yourself like a few questions, or like how do you go about the decision making process with
obviously value for what you're spending, how you're going to finance it. Generally restaurants, it's 100% financed by the restaurant owner, so there's banks usually aren't that get that excited to get involved into the restaurant business.
What?
It's a little high risk for them. Hence the conversation earlier about going into business and running out of money. They definitely don't want to buy into that.
Yeah.
So it's just making sure that you have the resources, and realistically you spend this money. Are you gonna go broke in the next year because you spent that money?
That's a great question right there to ask yourself, and then that might maybe help you put the brake on the spending, if that would work for you. It's like, am I going to need this money in a year's time? And if the answer is yes, then maybe the money isn't worth the investment at this time, but it could be something that you could do in 6 months or 12 months time, right? So it's
restaurants are so high risk, so you have to have a really high risk personality to deal with it. And yeah, certain purchases, moving into a place and the tables are okay, well, just use those ones.
Yeah.
I spent over 2 years and we just upgraded all our tabletops because we were saving money to make sure that it was going to be easy for us and we weren't going to spend all of our capital upgrading. So we upgraded things slowly.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's like a little bit like it sounds a little bit like delayed gratification in a way. Like how how do you really but it's hard to put the brakes on because everybody wants it and they want it now and they want it just the way they've envisioned it and how do you control that's an amazing self-control.
It's so important to make sure that you have control over your spending, and there's a million things I would love to, but I'm working with what I have.
Yeah.
Equipment was a good example. Then we had some used equipment, and then as we grew, then we bought better equipment and took the ones we had out of service, and that was just a matter of growing. We got by with what we had, knowing that we needed something better, and it came down to saving up the money so you could buy the better equipment.
Yeah, instead of having it all right now.
All right now.
Yeah.
All right now would be awesome.
That would be. I know everybody loves everything all right now.
Now you just shop for some used equipment and buy what you absolutely have to buy new, and then try to get the rest in a used format.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's amazing. So, hey, what was that? Can you talk a little bit about the early days of Piggyback? Like, what was it like when you opened your doors on that first day? So you finally did all the work, got the menu slapped out, picked your suppliers. What was that opening day like for you?
Mayhem.
So it was ham in May?
I was planning on working by myself. That didn't work at all.
Oh, wow. So did you realize that in the first hour that you opened?
The first 5 minutes.
The first 5 minutes.
I'm a pretty fast worker. I'm a hard worker. I figured I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Not so much.
Yeah.
Not so much. We got run over. I think we closed 3 times the first day just trying to catch up on potato prep. And then that was the first Friday of April 2014. And then the next day, Saturday, we closed a couple times. And then after that, we pretty much got a handle on it, but it was still complete mayhem. And we were trying to figure out how much prep to do. And constantly, calling the distributor, we need more.
Send us more potatoes.
Yeah.
We need more cheese.
We need more everything.
More of everything.
But once we got it all figured out, and it made it a lot easier, but still, it was at least 3 weeks before we got somebody hired to help us, and I really anticipated just doing it myself. I didn't think I was going to be as busy as it was, but it was.
Oh, well, that's really great that you underestimated that part in your planning.
Yeah, that definitely paid me back for a lot of investment quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems to me was it always planned as a family business, or is that something that just that kind of evolved on its own?
That kind of evolved on its own.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, because now we go in and we know everybody who's been to Dylan's or to Piggyback to Dylan's, we know your whole family.
Yeah, they all work there.
Yeah.
All the money that comes into our house comes from downtown business, which is really important to support downtown business.
Yeah, thank you everyone for supporting downtown businesses, because that's so true. It does support local families right here in town, so it makes a huge difference and has a tremendous impact on the community overall.
Absolutely. There's a lot of business here in downtown Lethbridge that their whole entire income for their household, their family, comes from business downtown.
Yeah, so we appreciate everybody's support. And if you haven't been to Dylan's Piggyback Boutique at the new location on 5th Street South, make sure you check it out today. There's always amazing lunch items, new features, new items coming in all the time. Lots of creativity in this menu. It's a really fun and delectable delight to go and check it out. And if you're able to have a beer at lunch, it's not really the 90s anymore, but if you can, grab a.
Some places it's okay, some places not.
Yeah, definitely.
We have a good selection of light beer.
Yes. So. Okay.
And a soon selection of Alberta non-alcoholic beer as well. So
cool.
That's coming in right away.
Yeah. Don't you've got something else on tap at Dylan's Piggyback Boutique?
We do, as available. We have root beer from Trouble Monk Brewery in Red Deer, which is non-alcoholic. Saskatoon berry soda, non-alcoholic, from the same brewery, and ginger ale from the same brewery. They're all non-alcoholic as well. Oh my,
good. So what's some of the comments? What are some of the feedbacks on the root beers and the ginger ale? And what was the third one?
Saskatoon berry.
The Saskatoon berry. What's some of the customer feedback on those? Those sound amazing.
Saskatoon berry we haven't tried yet. I was just in Calgary yesterday picking up kegs of it.
Ooh, so a brand new drink to try.
Brand new drink, and it'll be available at South Country Fair.
Cool.
And yeah, there's always good feedback. people are getting back to the let's not buy Pepsi or Coke, those kinds of things. Not that we have the specialty of that and it sells well, but people really want the independence, the independent brands, and having something sitting on tap that they keg. Root beer for us, they generally just sell it in cans. So we are asking for root beer to be kegged for us, so they kegged root beer for us.
Oh, that's so amazing. That's so great. And like your customers are asking for, like, they want those unique products, something that you can't get anywhere else, maybe something they've never tried before.
Absolutely. That's kind of the whole point with, we sell Jones soda, Mexican sodas, those kinds of things. There's a lot of different alternatives for people that haven't had it before, or nostalgia for some people.
Yeah.
Depends on what they're after. But having that selection definitely drive sales.
Yeah, I really like how you always have you're always bringing in new products and new concepts, new ideas, and that's what makes it so fun to go in for lunch or dinner. It's like you never know I'm excited to see, like, oh, what's on today, It's really fantastic. Lots of creativity going on with your menu. I'd like to ask a little bit about how the market has changed, just specifically here in Lethbridge. Because a lot of people with the Lethbridge market, you're like, oh, it's just like it's steak and potatoes. That's Lethbridge. Everybody always orders the same thing. It's like, it's steak sandwiches, pulled pork. That's kind of the staple of what the customer base of Lethbridge likes. How is that? What are your thoughts on that? And can you share with us anything that you've noticed that's perhaps changed in the last 5 years?
People are a lot more open to definitely different food ideas, and we push the limits on some of the things we do. We did a breaded chicken sandwich with yellow pea dal on it.
Ooh.
That turned out really well. We just actually made the dal for us to eat, and then came up with the idea we should try this with the chicken, and it was delicious. So that was sat on the menu for about 2 weeks, and we'll probably come back because it was delicious. But that's kind of pushing the envelope. People aren't expecting to come to a burger place, buy a fried chicken sandwich with dal on top of it.
No,
but it turned out fantastic. It was so delicious.
Nice. So what are people like, do you find like the type of people that come into your place, are they looking just like, I guess you must have the customer, they just want a burger and fries or a burger and a poutine, and then you must have like another customer group that might be more like, it's foodie, if you will.
That is definitely a thing. We get people that are just wide open and people that are closed, but with a short conversation become wide open.
Oh, good. Oh, good. So is that kind of part of your mission, as a part of your why you do what you do, is to maybe inspire people to open up their palates and try new things?
Absolutely. With the craft beer, the food, as they come in, you talk to the customers, and if they trust you right away, they're willing to change what they're willing to do. I guess when they come in, they came in specifically not taking a chance, and then once you've built a relationship, even in a short amount of time, within 5 minutes, and they trust you, then all of a sudden they will buy something a little more wild.
A little bit more wild. Maybe not the chicken doll, but
you never know.
You never know. You can always offer it to them.
Yeah.
I think that's great that you're on a mission to open people's palates in southern Alberta. That's really fantastic. So maybe we won't have to, I think we're still very much steak and potatoes, but sounds like, that we're starting to become a little more open as a city, for trying new foods and new things.
Absolutely, and we see a large demographic within the restaurants. So we see everybody from families with kids or students all the way to seniors coming in who've never had poutine in their life and coming in, buying it, loving it, and coming again.
Yeah,
This is totally a food they would never think they would buy, but because of our good reputation, and most likely a lot of people in their family are like, go, go, go.
Yeah.
And then they do show up and buy, and then they love it.
Good. Oh, that's amazing. I really love to hear that. So, I'm a little bit of a French fry snob. I've got I'm also from Montreal, so we actually have that in common. And Montreal is really known for their fry stands and fresh cut fries. They're so I'm a bit of a snob, and I'd have to say that you definitely, hands down, have the greatest fries in Lethbridge.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Raw potato. You got to wash them, trim them, cut them, cook them, let them stand before you cook them again. It's a big process, and it doesn't involve frozen fries.
No, there's nothing frozen about these French fries at all.
No. There's a lot of work.
So how did you? The French fries are such an important piece. How did you choose your potato? And
we brought in a few different potatoes, did some tastings, and decided to go with russets. A lot of people use a Kennebec as somewhat a new varietal that is kind of grown just for fries, but we don't do that. We don't use those. And then there's, some people use the yellow Yukon Golds. There's all over the place. But for me, russet made the most sense. It's the best baked potato. It's the most tender inside. That seemed to be the one I wanted.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a common potato to use in Quebec for French fries too. They use a lot of russets there. Yeah, and I remember my grandpa used to be. My grandpa had a restaurant, and I used to be the person who would just push the potato through the press. And I had big strong muscles when I was 8, 9 years old from doing that for a few hours a day.
And nothing changes. It's still going through the press. The press looks exactly the same that it did.
Yeah. Back in well, I guess this would have been back in, for me, 1985 was when I was pressing potatoes at Grandpa's restaurant. And nothing has changed, hey, for the French fry process. There's not a better way to make a fry.
No. Oddly enough, that was my first job, was doing that for a restaurant chain in Ontario. And we'd pour the bagged potatoes into a peeler. We don't peel. And then cut them and blanch them, and never thought I'd end up doing that all over again.
All over again. Well, they are amazing fries. What do you think, skin on or skin off? What's your preference?
Skin on, for sure.
Skin on all the way. They say that's where all the nutrition is with the skin.
It just holds it together better as well. If we peel them, cut them, they'll break into smaller pieces a lot quicker.
Yeah.
So the skin holds some I don't want to say.
Holds the length of the fry.
Yeah, it holds it and makes it a little tougher.
Yeah.
It's hard to tear through the skin when it's cooked.
Yeah, true. So where do you think, what's your plans for the future? What's going on for the future with Dylan's Piggyback Patisserie? What are you most looking forward to?
I think we're always menu changes. Those are fun.
Yeah.
We keep our poutine menus pretty solid, has been for 4 years or so. But the burger menu, we keep a couple staples, and then there's 4 or 5 rotating things we go through, and then we're taking the risk of trying something, and sometimes it completely fails and we think it's delicious, and then you just figure out something else and move on.
Yeah, you just move on from the dishes that don't work. Hey,
that happens. You write a menu with 6 burgers on them, they sell like crazy. You write the next one with 6 burgers on it, and 2 of them don't sell at all. They sound delicious, they taste delicious because we tasted them, but it didn't appeal to people. That's fine.
And that's okay. Yeah.
That's 100% okay.
Do you take that personally and wallow in that for a couple days?
Oh no.
Not even 2 seconds.
No.
Not
everything is for everybody. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, that's true. I know that there's lots of restaurant owners that do take it personally when you don't necessarily care for the dish that they've prepared for you. But it's really about your customers and what they love, right, and what they want.
Absolutely, and obviously I eat in restaurants too, and sometimes I see things in menus like, not for me. And it could be one of their best-selling items. Not everybody likes everything. That's something. Yeah, a lot of chefs and restaurant owners too get frustrated that they put all this effort into it and it didn't work. I just let it roll off my back. I don't take it personally at all. It's just
on to the next idea.
Exactly.
Yeah, on to the next idea.
Pretty much, and moving on.
Yeah, and you have no shortage of ideas. I mean, there's no shortage of inspiration and ideas out there.
Exactly.
Have you ever actually, kind of talking about this, have you ever had I guess, because what you do it is very creative, putting dishes together. Have you ever hit a little bit of a wall where you're just I don't know, I don't know what to do. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of that. I don't want to do this. Have you ever kind of had that kind of a creative vortex where just no inspiration was coming to you?
Only when I'm not hungry.
Only when your stomach's full.
when my belly's full, then it's a little harder to make decisions or find things. When I'm hungry and I wander around the kitchen, I go into the back and I'm looking at what we already have. Lots of that is that too. It's look at that. Oh, we can use that.
Yeah. Oh, will these 2 things go together? Yeah.
And it's the dal and the chicken.
I just have to laugh because it's amazing how when you're hungry, how you get really creative and industrious with your ideas.
Absolutely.
So stay hungry, Lethbridge. Stay hungry. And when you are hungry, head on over to Dylan's Piggyback Patisserie. It's got some amazing items on the menu. The space is amazing. It's a great place to grab a beer, go for a date. You could even take your mom there or your grandma. It's a really all well-rounded, amazing place to go check out on 5th Street.
And your kids. We're obviously family friendly, and we got little board games and a few other things for the kids to play with, so feel free to bring your family down. It's a totally family environment. Part of the reason when we opened Dylan's was extremely important to me was to make sure that our liquor license involved allowing families in. So And then we went this next step, and we brought in the games. So there's a lot of families that come in, and the kids go straight through the door for the games.
Nice, perfect.
And they come sit down, and that's the thing. They want to go because they get to do that, and the parents want to go because they actually get a decent selection of beer, which have about 44 Alberta craft beer right now.
Oh, nice. 40. I can't believe Alberta has that many craft beers already. Like,
there's like 120 brewers.
That's crazy because it went from like Big Rock to
Yes.
like 120 brewers. Like, yeah.
Within 5 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense, obviously, being, because it could really just go from field to beer. Like, everything's local, right? Locally grown.
Yes.
For the most part, anyway.
Absolutely. One of the brewers in Lacombe actually went through and did the planting with horses and the harvesting, and then helping do the final things, getting the malt into, or the grain into bags, and it was quite the cool thing. He went all the way. They did it all by horse, and the one beer they did was in complete full circle. They started with the field and the horses and ended with it in the can.
Wow.
And hand done the whole entire way.
Oh,
but the horses was pretty cool, but they really wanted to have something different.
Yeah, like it's like you could almost like taste the love and the sweat in the beer.
Exactly. That's the kind of effort people are putting into making beer.
And to making quality beers. Yes. Wow, I am definitely going to be there next week having a beer, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. So hey, let's talk a little bit about what's going on Fifth Street. Like, how's Fifth Street's Fifth Street's kind of changing. Am I the only one who notices this? Are you noticing changes on Fifth Street?
I think there's a lot of change on Fifth Street right now.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
We have a few vacancies, but mostly it's the Oliver building, and that's just because they've completely redone it, and the whole entire upstairs is full. And they got the downstairs; they're still looking for a couple of retail to go into there, but the spaces are getting renovated into really nice spaces, so it's no longer cheap and dirty.
I know. It seems like a lot of young professionals, young service. Like, I know there's a lot of young professionals moving onto that street.
Yeah, they're hungry for business, and we have a good following for all demographics, which is nice because the younger people are looking past some of the things we have as a challenge downtown right now, and then the older people, they've just been doing this since forever. Downtown is always the place to go.
Yeah, it is. Well, in my opinion, it is the place to be, absolutely.
It is, and that's good because we're seeing support from all groups, and no matter where you are and what part of the country or what part of the world, there's always other things happening as well.
Yeah, it's interesting because I know like they've also on Fifth Street they've also opened up a workspace, a shared workspace above Bread, Milk and Honey. So that's where you can go if you're a solopreneur just getting your business started. It's a great resource to go and hang out with other people that are doing the same thing as you, because you get that support. You have questions, you have challenges. Like there's a lot of times you learn from the people that you surround yourself with. So you want to surround yourself with people that are hungry to be successful, and a workspace is a really great spot for that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful space they did. And it's very, very forward thinking.
Yes, it is very forward thinking because like the like the way that our economy, there's been a shift in the economy. It's like obviously everything's gone to online. So creating community downtown has become, there's always been community downtown, but I think like now more than ever it's starting to grow. I feel like our downtown community is growing.
I do agree. And with that workspace, that was fairly risky on their end to renovate it, to get it ready, and then put a business plan together and get people to actually use it. So I'm sure there was a fair amount of risk in that as well, because then you have to find the people to actually show up and use it.
Yeah, you do. So kudos to you guys, and also a big warm thank you for everybody who's supporting downtown. We love you so much, and we're so happy that you guys believe in downtown like we do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's great. So Dylan, I got to ask, like, have you, you said earlier in the interview that you were looking at either doing a startup or possibly buying a restaurant. Did you actually go and hit the market and look to see what was for sale?
I did. Not much.
Not much was what was for sale. Yeah.
Unless you move, and then even then, you go into a new market that you don't know anything about. That's another kind of high risk. So I had a long-term job. I decided I wanted to be self-employed, and that took a while. Yeah,
it does. So, hey, that's a great subject to talk about, getting into business. You had a really stable long-term job. I'm sure you had the benefits, medical, health insurance, like the whole nines, right?
Well, the whole pension.
The pension.
Matching and 6 weeks of holidays.
6 weeks of holidays.
That was a 16-year run that I had. But yeah, 6 weeks of holidays. Now I'm just hoping for 6 days.
Yeah, now I'm hoping just to get 6 days of holiday. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, how did you take the jump into business ownership? How did you get your family on board? Everybody must have, did you have support, or were people telling you were crazy for leaving that type of security in your job?
Some people thought I was crazy to leave my job, definitely.
Yeah. Yes.
And
you're going to get that. Just so you know, people are going to think you're crazy for leaving your job.
Yes.
Just expect it.
And sometimes it is crazy, and it depends on your personality. If you have a high-risk personality and you believe in what you're doing and have the business background, my previous job was with a huge business background, so they trained me how to run a business. So for me, doing that part of it became fairly easy. I didn't have to, learn a bunch of things. I knew quite a bit
Already from the job
already
that
from
you were
that
in.
job. Yeah, so did payroll, sales projecting, losing inventory, all those kinds of things.
How to mitigate waste and
How to manage an extremely busy business that turns into a slow business the next week, and trying to figure out how you're going to manage your payroll to get it done and not lose your all your money along the way
behind it. So was it a slow decision, where you took the time to really think about it, or did you just kind of jump in? How did that happen for you?
I found the space, then I just jumped in.
You found as soon as you found the space, you were like, this is it. It clicked, and there was no more waffling, no more thinking. It was all doing. Yeah.
And when I found the space, I didn't know exactly what style of restaurant I was going to run in it.
You didn't even know?
No.
You just found the space, and that was it?
Just found the space and went from there.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's fantastic.
So, back to the high-risk thing. Found a space, went for the space, did what we did, came up with a plan, and then started working on it. Within 6 weeks, we were open.
Wow, within 6 weeks, that's pretty impressive. Yeah, it really comes back to being able to make quick decisions. So I think you probably recognize that was your space. You recognized it, and then you didn't let that time go by where you're thinking oh, well, is it? Maybe it's not. Oh, maybe I shouldn't. The more time you leave between making your decision and making the decision, the more you start to doubt, and your brain kind of kicks in with all the reasons why you shouldn't. Whereas if you just make that decision, you find it, you know it, you decide quick, and it's done. Because if you didn't, someone else would have taken that space.
Absolutely.
Yeah, someone else would have grabbed it up.
Absolutely. And going into that plan as well, once I decided that it was going to be the patisserie, I also, in my mind, was thinking that this doesn't work out. I already have a restaurant, so now it's just find a new format. Because then you don't necessarily give up. Maybe it's time to change to a new format.
It's not giving up. Yeah, it's just changing, adjusting. So it's not giving up. It's making adjustments, and kind of because you're steering a ship basically. So you just want to just maybe turn the wheel a couple degrees to the left and come up with a new concept that'll be accepted.
Absolutely, and then you see again business that people are starting a business or buying a business, and I see them not doing well, and it's because it's not their food. You see ethnic people doing food. You have people from Argentina selling burgers. It makes no sense to sell Argentinian food. That's the way to go. You know what it is, and you'll build a base on it. But we saw at least one business fail because of it, and that was a previous business in my location. They were selling schnitzel.
Yeah.
And they're from Ecuador, I think. And
from Ecuador.
That was just I wish they would have sold Ecuadorian food, because after we were open, people came in asking about that food because they do it once in a while.
Yeah.
And I was like, but that's a matter of kind of accepting defeat and moving on to something else while you still can.
And you have to, like you said, you need to have a really strong emotional connection to your service or product. A really strong emotional connection. So I know, even for you, the poutineery, I mean, it's not like it's necessarily a part of your heritage, but it was something that you identified with, right? And felt,
absolutely.
And felt strongly about. Yeah. I know that there's another restaurant too where they make the pizza base. IROC was purchased, and some great new owners over at IROC. They are Lebanese, and I'm telling you, man, they make the sickest donaires, like the most amazing that I've ever had, and I've had a lot of donaires. And I'm like, why don't you guys do donaires? I'm like, they're delicious. The pizza's all right, but the donaires are out of this world, Yeah.
Yes, I've had it, and it's amazing. And that's a prime example of taking something and then someone adapting it to what you do and what you really know.
Yeah, and what you really know.
And so that's the way they're going to grow their business. And it makes total sense. They're going to grow. They've already had the pizza business. They're going to work on growing that, I'm sure. But going into donaires or something that's more ethnic for them is going to really do well, because people are looking for that style of food.
They are looking for that style of food, and knowing that I'm going into someone who's from Lebanon, making the donaires. Oh my gosh, it's it's a treat. It's a really special treat. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a very, very prime example of somebody who took something and ran with it and saw the need to grow it and find out what's going to sell and incorporate that into their business.
Sure. So, hey, like we're just going to wrap up the show here in a couple of minutes. I was hoping that maybe you might be able to give your advice, your advice to somebody who's been thinking about, who wants to start their restaurant. What would some of your advice be for somebody who hasn't done it yet, but just thinking about getting into it?
Ask around, seek advice, talk to other business owners. Most of us are out there and willing to share on, troubles, things that have happened. You have to know what you're going to sell, but you have to be confident that you actually have the skill and ability to financially manage a restaurant. Mm-hmm. If you don't, that's okay. You can get trained. That's where franchises come in sometimes, because they'll train you to do it. To be an independent, the best thing is obviously to know what food you're going to sell. Excuse me. And the secondary, which is just as important, is knowing how to run a business.
So knowing how to run a business is what's really going to make the difference.
It's managing the money.
Yeah, it is. It is, especially with a restaurant. There's a lot of room for error running a restaurant with regards to over ordering with food, and then it all ends up in the garbage. Overstaffing, and then all your money's going to staff. It's gone. It's all gone to payroll. Having a lease rate that's just too much, too expensive. Then all of your money is going to pay the landlord. So it's really, absolutely. I would say having a very strong business acumen is a key to running a restaurant. There's so much going on.
There is. It's the backside of the business is not actually selling the food, but taking care of the sales and the money that's coming in and or going out is very challenging. And the other thing I see with a few new restaurants and just restaurants in general that are open up is there's the honeymoon period where it's really busy and the money's flowing in like crazy, and then like, oh, it's so busy, we're going to do all of these things.
It's going to last forever.
And then it slows down, and then they've spent all that honeymoon period money. Mm-hmm. And that's when you hold on to your cash. That's the stuff you're going to need to live on after that to maintain your business, because there's very few businesses that just come in and are busy the whole entire time forever. It takes time to build them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does. I usually say to give yourself 5 years to really become profitable. Yeah, when you're starting out from scratch, especially.
Yeah, we're 5.5 years now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, do you think you're going to are you vested? Are you continuing on this path as a restaurateur? Is this like are you excited for the next couple of years? Do you have plans coming up? Like, what's your next move, Dylan? We all want to know.
Jeez, I do. I think you're going to see a takeout menu that's going to be strictly for takeout.
Ah, cool.
So we'll be opening a takeout only, online only business called Winging It, and we'll be doing chicken wings and duck wings on that one. So we'll have some other things available, some poutine, that kind of thing. But
okay, so this menu, you can't get it in the restaurant. It's takeout only.
No,
oh, cool.
We just finished the art, and we're just working on a cool cooking process to be the wings. So we're working on that. Obviously, back to getting things ready properly. We could order everything in and just go for it, or we take our time. We're trying different cooking methods for the wings to make sure they're tender and doing it right. So when we do go into it, we're 100% prepared.
That sounds delicious. I can't wait to order and find out more about this concept. And do you have a launch date for it yet, or is it still a bit soft?
It's still a bit soft, but it should be sometime this week.
Sometime this week. It's Thursday.
Yeah, by Sunday.
Nice, by Sunday. Wow, that's great. Oh my gosh, you heard it here first on Just FM, you lucky people. Great. Well, thank you so much, Dylan, for joining us today. It's been a really amazing interview. Thanks for sharing so much about your business with our audience today. And, thank you guys for tuning in and listening to Getting Into Business. I'm Clara Piedalue, a business broker at Larkspur Business Brokers. Have yourself an amazing day, and I guess get into it at Dylan's Piggyback Poutineery this afternoon for lunch for the apple bacon chicken sandwich. Delicious. I'll be there trying one myself. Everybody have a great day, and thanks again for watching. Thanks, Jesse.